Yes, welcome into Sports Bit Betting Insight today, weekend preview edition. Paulie and Teddy, big game breakdown. 4 great games to talk about: Bengals, Patriots, Cowboys, Packers, Falcons, Seahawks, and the Chiefs. And the first place Raiders play of the day coming up as well. The Nationals got dusted, Teddy. 10 straight losses when they have an opportunity to clinch the longest 9-inning game in baseball playoff history. 4.5 hours. The 7th inning took 1 hour and 6 minutes, and Kershaw gets his first career save.
Nothing but Dodgers money and under money. The total ended up pushing in that ballgame. The under 7 got bet as low minus 130 juice in a lot of places, but nobody I saw moved off of 7. And they're nothing but LA money, so not a great result for the house. They push all the totals, and they have to pay out all all the LA bettors as Washington comes up short again. And what do we say about Dusty? Oh, Dusty. Dusty, really? I mean, you have no one left, not one player on your bench to pinch hit after the 6th inning except for the rookie out of the Dominican Republic to come in to face Kershaw in the 9th.
Oh.
You put Joe Ross in as your pinch runner? What did you do? Oh, he ran Bryce Harper.
Yes,
they took the bat out of Murphy's hands.
Yeah, exactly right. The stolen base by Harper took the bat out of Murphy's hands. And how about the sacrifice bunt attempt in the bottom of the 8th? He thinks it's 1982.
Oh, Dusty, you wonder why we make fun of you. These are all reasons why we make fun of you, Dusty Baker. Although, for the Dodgers, I mean, that bullpen's been great all year. And then they give up runs in games 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then Kenley Jansen. What do you say about Jansen last night? I mean, Roberts, I was stunned that Roberts left him in to face Worth after the 7 outs and 45 pitches already with Kershaw all warmed up.
Yes.
But that being, even with that, Kenley Jansen was unbelievable. To get out of that jam in the 7th, shut down in the 8th, and then get into the 9th from your closer. Hey, I thought closers are for closing, Paulie.
No, it is not. You bring them in when it's game 5, any type of scenario, you got to bring them in. And I can't believe Roberts has made all the right moves, but what was he waiting for? Because Kershaw has owned Harper. I thought he'd bring him in there with 1 out, but he didn't do it. And Jansen was clearly gassed. You're right. Back-to-back walks. In the big out, he gets Murphy to pop up. But you thought the Dodgers were going to get a rally going against Scherzer eventually.
I mean, look, Scherzer was great last night. Let's be real. I mean, he was dominant. But the Dodgers were taking good at-bats against him all night. And then he got out of that bases-loaded jam. What was that, the 5th? Where he got those 2 key outs after the Dodgers loaded him up with 1 out. But as soon as Jock Peterson hit that homer, I mean, it felt like the pressure was off L.A. And then, of course, that moment was when Dusty said, oh, let's use up all our relievers in this inning. And then went through 5 relievers in the next 15 minutes. Or what was that, an hour-long inning, that 7th inning. But, went through his entire bullpen and gave up 3 more runs after the Jock Peterson homer.
The Cubs have to be loving it. Can Kershaw go in game 2?
Don't know. How about this from ESPN Stats and Info?
Uh-huh.
Kershaw, the 3rd starting pitcher in postseason history to save a winner-take-all game on 1 day of rest or less. And that would be, Grover Cleveland Alexander? It's been a while.
Yeah, knockout information there. Knockout information. Market moves coming up in a second. All good things must come to an end. The Broncos had won 15 in a row on the road in divisional games. The Chargers had lost 10 straight divisional games. Another bad effort by the offensive line and the Denver offense. And Teddy, the Chargers tried to blow it again.
Oh, they tried so hard. First they go 1 for 5 on red zone tries. And then, I mean, that little dump-off pass to C.J. Anderson for a touchdown. Was it a dump-off pass or was it a handoff? I don't even remember.
No, a dump-off, yeah.
Got called back on a holding penalty. If Anderson gets in the end zone and it's all of a sudden 21-18 right there, San Diego's losing that game. They'd have blown that one too. They still couldn't recover the onside kick. I mean, the look that they flashed on the sideline with McCoy, just his head in his hands, it was just priceless. It's like, that's not an easy job as an NFL head coach. And once you muff the punt and set Denver up, I mean, they really tried to blow that game, even though the Broncos stunk. Broncos didn't do anything right last night.
NFL's got to get rid of these Thursday night games.
Well, I mean, what do we have? I mean, it's one It's not 1 week.
No.
It's 1 week after the next, you get a bad product. We had a couple of decent games early in the season, and of course, earlier in the season, teams aren't into that rhythm where they're playing every Sunday. In the preseason, you're playing on Thursdays and on Fridays, and it doesn't really matter. But, I mean, year in, year out, look, what we have. We had Arizona-San Fran last week. That was a crap game. Cincy-Miami the week before. That was a crap game. The Pats-the-Texans in week 3. And we're not talking a good game or a clean game in the bunch. And then, I mean, you look at what Denver did last night. They had 50 pass attempts and only 16 rushes. That's not their ratio. Trevor Siemian wasn't ready. Only 4.6 yards per pass. That's not what they want to do. It's not a good product. At one point in the second half, Denver had more penalties than first downs. Yeah, I'm with you, Paulie. The Thursday night product is not a good one for the NFL.
Yep, time for market moves. Let's start with the Giants. Money coming against the Ravens. New offensive coordinator, Tressman fired. Hey, welcome back, Morningweg. He gets promoted, and I'll tell you, look at this. Money coming in on the Panthers, even though they're on the road on a short week, and the Saints are off the bye.
No, it's the other way around. The money's coming on New Orleans.
Oh, my fault. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. And the Panthers aren't yet priced as a true 1-4 team. A loss here, and they might be priced like a 1-5 team next week. And, of course, the money, I'm not surprised to see money coming on some of these post-bye teams like the Saints that, in theory, are playing for their season. And as for the Giants, I mean, the markets are not particularly excited about Joe Flacco getting his 5th offensive coordinator in the last 5 years. I think that certainly has something to do with the fact that we saw a pretty big move off of 3 on a Thursday afternoon. It's a whole new market out there in the NFL right now with a ton of steam moves on Thursday afternoon and evening.
Yep. How about the Bills' teaser protection move here by the books?
Well, yeah, I mean, what you see a lot of times, and there's certainly there are more than a handful of books that do this. They'll move from -7.5 to -9 straight. They're not going to go through 8 or 8.5, and we call that a teaser protection line. If you remember the segment we did on how wise guys play teasers a few weeks back, we talked about the basic strategy where you're moving favorites down through the key numbers of 7 and 3. So when you have a teaser protection line, that means you're going from 7.5 to 9, so you can't move through the 3 down to 2.5 on a 6-point on a 6-point teaser. So when you say, "Oh my God, the Bills moved from 7.5 to 9, and the Saints only moved from 3 to 2.5," a lot more money on the Saints moving off the 3 than it takes from Buffalo to move up from the 1.5 move. Doesn't take nearly as much money to do that.
Little respect for Atlanta, even though back-to-back road games, they're in Seattle. Little money coming in on the Falcons, and this makes sense. The Chiefs, now favored in Oakland. Andy Reid, 15-2, straight up off the bye.
Yeah, we'll break down these games in just a moment when it comes to big game breakdown. But it's been pretty steady KC money. They were underdogs in this contest. Then to pick them, and then another big move on Thursday up to -1.5, even 2s out there. And you talk about Atlanta. I mean, we saw signs of market respect for the Falcons last week. There was late Atlanta money at Denver. Seeing signs of that again this week. The market's showing respect for Matt Ryan and company.
You called this on Monday. Here comes the Cowboy money.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's sometimes the NFL is easy to understand where the betting's going to come. And you knew that Dallas had flavor of the week written all over them after they dominated Cincy last week. And they are. It's where I thought that oh my gosh, Des Bryant's going to play. He's still officially listed as doubtful, even though Dallas took a bunch of money, +4s, even down to +3.5 at a handful of leading indicator books. And it's not just Des Bryant who's hurt for the Cowboys. They may not have Orlando Scandrick, one of their top cover corners, which is never good news going up against Aaron Rodgers.
No, you're right. This craziness here on a Thursday afternoon. How about all the money that came in on the Sunday night game? Over a 2.5-point move in the total in the Sunday night game, and money for the Cardinals Monday night. Decker out for the year.
Yeah, I mean, Indy's defense is starting to get the betting attention that it deserves. They are a dead nuts over team because they can't stop anyone, because Andrew Luck can throw against anyone. So I'm not surprised at all the Colts Texans took big money on Thursday. And as for Arizona, I mean, some of that's Carson Palmer's being back at practice. Some of that has to do with Eric Decker being out for the year. Some of that has to do with the Jets' locker room rumblings of trouble. But the bottom line is the New York Football Jets are not a team that the betting markets are particularly excited about at this stage of the campaign.
All right, excellent. Up next, we're ready. Big game breakdown. Bengals, Patriots, Falcons, Seahawks coming up next on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Hey, we're back on Sports Bet, Betting Insight today. Paulie and Teddy, big game breakdown. As always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Bengals hit the road to take on the Patriots. New England 947.5 the total. Brady remembers what it was like to have Gronk and Hernandez. Now he has Gronk and Bennett. We said it before the season, Teddy. This is going to be a dangerous duo for the Pats.
Yeah, I mean, the before and after photos tell a story right here. You know, Brady knew what it was like to have two elite tight ends at the field at the same time. And he could picture what Bennett could bring when he was a free agent in Chicago. Well, now he has him. And what did we see last week? 3 touchdowns to Bennett. Bennett and Gronkowski combined 11 catches, 176 yards. And I'm telling you, Paulie, this combo is almost impossible to defend. Look at the quote from Tom Brady.
Yep.
You know, Marty played great. He played 5 great weeks of football for us. He's been so productive with everything we've asked him to do, running, catching, scoring touchdowns. Him and Gronk at tight end has been a tough matchup for other teams.
It's not fair. I can put Gronk out to the left, Bennett out to the right. They're going to be you can't cover them in the red zone. I got Edelman in the slot, Amendola. Oh, my God, if they protect Brady, forget about it. Bennett's quote, I love playing with Gronk. I'm excited for him. It was pretty dynamic with both of us out there today. He played very well. I expect him to continue to play like that. That's what Gronk is. That's what Gronk does. That's why he's the Gronkinator. End quote. I mean, they are loving life in New England.
Sure, and of course Gronk's quote, that's why it's a team game. The 2 defenders come to me and leave Marty in the red zone one-on-one. I've never heard Martellus Bennett called Marty.
No, I haven't either, no.
Yeah, so
No.
it gives other people opportunities to capitalize on them. So this is the Patriots offense that, it looks pretty scary. But before we get carried away, they did it against Cleveland. Cincinnati's a good notch or 2 better than Cleveland. Maybe 3 or 4 notches better when it comes to the Bengals secondary.
Simeon lit them up on the road, and I'm concerned about that offense. Looks like Eifert won't play again, and that was a horror show. Last week in Dallas, down 28-0, 2 garbage touchdowns to make it look respectable.
Yeah, but again, last week is last week. The Bengals have been a playoff team. They've been good for years. And when a playoff team has a bad week, you tend to think that they're going to bounce back the following week. But, I mean, Andy Dalton's been spending a ton of time on the run. His receivers aren't getting open. A.J. Green listed on the injury report this week. But look, you talk about Eifert. He's got no Marvin Jones. He's got no Hugh Jackson. And the numbers are way down. It's particularly in the red zone. The yards per pass are down. The touchdown percentages are down. The passer rating is down. And, with A.J. Green, if A.J. Green doesn't play, and he's only listed on the injury report, he missed practice on Wednesday. But if A.J. Green doesn't play for whatever reason, or even if he's less than 100%, all of a sudden this passing game might well ground to a halt. And considering they can't run the football this year, they can't throw the ball, those numbers for Dalton go down in a hurry.
Not a good team right now. Game number 2, liveoddsportsbookreview.com. Great game, late game. Falcons on the road to take on the Seahawks. Seattle 6, 45.5 the total. The Falcons have shown the ability to win in different ways. Against Carolina, 500 yards for Matty Ice, 300 yards receiving for Julio. Then they go into Denver. He only had 267 passing, 180 yards to the running backs, Teddy. Shanahan and Matt Ryan on the same page.
Well, yeah, and Shanahan was a guy who I liked in several previous stops before he arrived in Atlanta. And then last year, he arrived in Atlanta, and it just didn't click. Him and Ryan never got on the same page, and now they are on the same page. And there's a ton of skill position talent around them. Devontae Freeman asked in the postgame if the Falcons had the most versatile offense in the NFL. Quote, I've thought that since last year. We're just now putting all those pieces together and putting everybody in position. Everybody is learning their role. The coaches really understand us and what we can do. I definitely think we are the best offense in the league right now, considering what they did against Denver last week on the heels of those impressive performances in previous week against lesser defenses. I don't know that I disagree with that. The Falcons' offense is as scary as the Patriots' offense right now. I haven't seen anyone shut it down.
Wait a second, though. Slow. Remember what happened last year? They were off to I know it wasn't like this with the offensive fireworks, but Atlanta got off to a great start last year. Then they shit the bed.
Yeah, sure. That was last year. I'm well aware of what happened with last year. And am I saying the Falcons are a Super Bowl team? No, I'm saying their offense is clicking right now, and they appear to be in better form offensively and much more of a comfort level offensively than they were in 2015. And if the defense can play decently well, which is still very much an if, they've drafted defense. They have a defensive head coach. In theory, that defense is supposed to make strides as the season progresses. That defense gets better. They might be scary. But for right now, it's like, yeah, the last year's still in the back of your mind when you think about the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not sure that it should be, though.
Yep, Seahawks, 2 weeks to prepare. They're in their best role, 23-7 ATS in home games under Carroll. When the line's single digits, they often back off as big favorites. But it shows the impact of the crowd when the games are competitive. Is this a defense that Wilson and the Seahawks can move the ball on?
Well, yeah, and then this, to my mind, is going to be the number one test for Atlanta's defense. We've seen them get torched at times this season. We saw them play well at Denver, but a lot of that was Paxton Lynch stinking up the joint. Now we got Russell Wilson facing a defense that has 3 rookies. They're all talented, but they're rookies. 3 rookies and 3 second-year players as starters. They could struggle with play action. They could struggle with the bootleg reads. And let's not forget Seattle, not one of the easier offenses to defend just because they use so much misdirection. Teams that are too aggressive against the Seahawks often pay the price.
Yes, up next, the big Sunday game. Cowboys and the Packers, and the Chiefs and the Raiders, plus the play of the day on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
So we're giving you picks every day, and you're probably making your own as well. Be sure to participate in SBR's weekly Twitter Bankroll Challenge. Just post your picks on Twitter with @SBRSportsPicks and the hashtag BetSBR before 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every day, Monday through Friday. We'll be betting your picks, and if the bankroll is positive at the end of the week, you could win the profits. Picks must be of events taking place that day and available in at least one of the major sportsbooks shown in our Best Sportsbooks page.
Back on SportsBit, Paulie and Teddy. Big game breakdown continues. Live on SportsbookReview.com. Cowboys on the road in Lambeau to take on the Packers. Green Bay 447 the total. Some 3.5s out there for the prevailing number. Are the Packers back? 48 points in the first half of the last 2 games. Rodgers, 6 touchdown passes. Are they not back? 25th in total offense. 31st in completion percentage. 19th in passer rating. Are they getting a big lead and backing off? What's the deal?
People are so overreacting to Green Bay, or maybe the bar is just higher for the Packers. But, they dominated the first half in each of the last 2 games. And then, in the second half, maybe they played poorly. Maybe they were just backing off with big leads and running clock. But, Mike McCarthy was asked, why is this offense struggling? His quote, we had 400 yards of offense. I don't know why the hell I've got to come here and answer questions about the things you think that went wrong. And I agree with him. Guess what? It's tempo for Green Bay. It's not their offense isn't working. It's they're milking the clock with the lead. Look at the numbers. Seconds per snap. First half this year. Number 8 in the NFL. They're moving quickly. They're playing a lot of no huddle. Second half, well, they've got leads. They're milking clock. Number 27 in time of seconds per snap. That's a 3-second differential. That adds up over 30 plays over a half. And it's not that the offense isn't working. They're slowing the pace with the lead, which is what you're supposed to be doing.
All right, Cowboys flying high on the field with the Prescott-Elliott duo, and the betting market's coming in on the Cowboys, and this is a big game because this could determine what happens if Prescott wins this game. To me, you can't go back to Romo.
Let me go back to the pace for Green Bay for just 1 minute, because it's worth noting on this for the Packers. Last year, they were without Jordy Nelson, and they slowed everything down without Jordy Nelson. In 2014, when they had Jordy Nelson, it was the same story. In the first half, they ran quickly. In the second half, they were 31st in pace. So I don't think they're playing bad in the second half. I just think they're continuing the pattern of what McCarthy has done when they've had good Packer teams, slowing the pace down. Now you talk about, let's talk line value here for a minute. This is a Cowboys team that was +3 at Washington a couple of weeks ago. Not a year and a half ago, just a couple of weeks ago. All right, +3 at Washington. Now they're +3.5, 4 at Green Bay. So you can see where the Cowboys' power rating is going. It's going through the roof right now. And of course, Elliott and Prescott are guys who have captured the public's attention and the betting market's attention in early season play.
Yes. Do you think they'll be able to run the ball without they don't have to worry about Dez if they're Green Bay? Let's say he doesn't play. You think they'll be able to run the ball in Lambeau?
Well, one of the things that the betting markets haven't seemed to pay attention to a whole lot in this ballgame is what Green Bay's been doing against the run. They have allowed less than 43 yards per game on the ground at 2.0 yards per carry. That is a full yard better than any other team. Now, they have faced a weak slate of opponents, certainly when it comes to running the football, but still, those are big-time numbers. 2 yards per carry when you're talking about, here we are entering week 6. So that could be a problem because Green Bay's game plan, I did a bunch of reading on this, their game plan is stack the box, don't let Elliott beat them, make Dak Prescott throw long to beat them. And don't know if Dez Bryant's going to be on the field. Like I said, the last report I saw had doubtful. If they got to play from behind and they can't run the football and it's throw to win, Dak, and do it without Dez Bryant on the field, I think they might be in for a rough game at Lambeau.
Yes, back to this game in a second. Last game, Chiefs, Raiders from Oakland. Chiefs now favored, 1.5, 47 the total. One of my favorite stats, Andy Reid off the bye, 15-2 straight up, 12-5 ATS, 5-1 against the Raiders since he took the Kansas City job. His key on the bye is attention to detail. Quote, in this league, there's never plenty of time. There's always an urgency for now. If you're not going to fix problems unless there's a massive amount of urgency that takes place, well, here it is, end quote. Here it is now. They're 2-2. They lose this game. They're 3 games behind the first place Raiders.
Yeah, 3 games behind the Raiders and 2 games behind Denver, even though the Broncos lost on Thursday night. And remember, KC did this last year. And I just said a few moments ago, we were talking about the Falcons. Last year was last year. And you put it in your memory, but you keep it in your memory. You know, KC, they had that slow start last year, 1-5. And then, of course, they came out of their bye and won every game the rest of the way. The biggest win of the bunch came at Denver right after the bye. That was a game that Manning had the 4 early interceptions before getting benched for the next 2 months. But a team that can start 1-5 and have enough mojo to close out the season with 10-0 and make the playoffs, that's a positive sign. And, of course, the bye week also helps Jamal Charles get back into sync with that offense. Charles, a complete non-factor in the game prior to the bye week, that ugly blowout loss against Pittsburgh. But you have to note that Jamal Charles, okay, fine. The 2 backs that were west that the Chiefs have been using instead of him are both averaging better than 5 yards per carry. No difference for KC with a healthy Jamal Charles compared to what they've been using in the backfield thus far.
You know, good point. Not only off the bye, but off the humiliating loss on national television where they were never in the game. Raiders 4-1, but how many times can they keep winning these shootouts? The defense, they've won 3 games in which they've allowed 27 points or more. They're still trying to fix it, but they haven't been able to stop anybody.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Raiders are allowing 425 yards per game. That's 30 more than anybody else. They're allowing 7 yards per play. No other team is above 6.5 yards per play. So they're giving up points and yards every single week. Khalil Mack, he only has 1 sack this season. He's still impacting games, but the secondary hasn't been good. The defensive front hasn't been good. And Jack Del Rio's quote, there's a lot of work in front of us. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. There is a long, long season in front of us. A lot of things we must do better as we go forward, and we're working hard at it. We'll continue that. I think the fact that the guys recognize that is a healthy thing. And hey, let's give the Raiders credit. They are relevant in a way that they haven't been relevant in many years. But let's not put the cart before the horse. I agree with Del Rio. That team still has work to do.
Yeah, big game for the Raiders because you got Tampa and Jacksonville coming up on the road after this. And then you got the Denver Broncos at home on a Sunday night. Money time, play of the day. We split but made a small profit yesterday because the Dodgers got there plus $1.30 when we gave it out. We went against Dusty, of course. We already gave out Bama, Tennessee over earlier in the week. And here we go, NFL. Betting number 274, the Packers lane 4. Clay Matthews and the Packers defense off to a historically good start at stuffing the run. And as Teddy said earlier, we think we can slow down Prescott because he might be able to do with his arm. Who knows about Dez, but they can contain Ezekiel Elliott. Puts a lot of pressure on Dak and the Packers. That's an awfully cheap line, Green Bay at home, coming up one of the big late games. All right, we'll talk to you Monday when we recap everything on SportsBit. Good luck out there. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.